Hey guys, what is going on? Carter here. Got another video for you. Today we are going to look at the Proelia TX020 or TX020. We're going to do kind of an unboxing, an initial impressions kind of review type thing. I don't know. We'll see how this video takes me. I've got two of these to look at, this one and this one here, but we'll do that in a separate video, a quicker video. So let's take a look inside of the Proelia TX020 right here. So as you can see, it comes in a very nice presentation box. Proelia, fight for what's yours. Pretty cool slogan. Nice textured box with magnetic closure. It's been a while since I've seen a good presentation box, especially for a knife that isn't extraordinarily expensive. We're not talking CRKT here. Foam padding here. You've got some documentation, limited lifetime warranty registration right here. That's pretty cool. Right out of California. Here are the two models that I have. I believe they got a couple more as well, the TX10, TX20. We're going to be looking at the TX20 right here. They come in various configurations. But one of the reasons I wanted to do the unboxing is you do get some goodies here. We'll take a look at this here in a second. Here is the knife itself in this pouch. Pretty decent quality. Multiple attachment points, pretty thick mesh, snap closure, Velcro, pretty good stuff. Here is the knife. I went with the orange and black G10 with the Stonewash blade. We'll look at that here in a second. But before we get to that, what else do we have? We have a tool, if I can get it out of here, because apparently I am a tool with trying to get this out and not bumping the camera. There we go. So here's a tool, takedown tool. It has your Torx bits right there. These are cool. I love it when they include these things. Most of us knife guys probably have a couple Torx tool bit sets lying around that they use, but if you don't, and it's always good to have a backup like this. It's really cool to have one of these sitting around in case you want to take down a knife, any knife. I mean, that's the beauty of the Torx bits, is that they're, obviously usable in any Torx configuration screws, so you can use them on any knife. So these are really cool to have around the house. You also get some extra parts here, and this is interesting. So you can see it comes with a pocket clip. So it has a replacement pocket clip for right-handed tip-up carry. So you have a replacement pocket clip for this, and then you also have a pocket clip that will go on the other side for tip-up left-hand carry. So similar to what Cold Steel does, because of the curved nature of the pocket clip, they include an extra one for the other side, but they also include a replacement one. They have 3 screws as well in case you lose or break them. Obviously you can reuse these screws on the other side if you are switching that pocket clip, but it comes with some extra ones so that you can, in case you lose one or break one or what have you. So here she is right here. Here is the knife. The basics of this is a G10 handle. Like I mentioned before, you can see the texturing that's kind of been done around the side here. Not really so much adding much grip to the knife, but it does add kind of a cool pattern to it, especially with this alternating G10 that it has there. It kind of gives a cool little flare on the side. It does seem to be lightly sandblasted. You can see a little bit of texture there. Have I don't know if I want to call it a custom pivot, but it does have some milling done on the pivot there, so it's not just a straight pivot. G10 backspacer with a really cool diamond pattern. I actually like this quite a bit. Reminds me of 1911 grips. Similar pattern to that. G10. Really thick G10 liners right there. G10 liners. Steel liners. Stainless steel liners. Sorry, I was reading the serial number right there. TP17793. I don't know why I said that out loud, doesn't matter. Pocket clip, great retention, really good. This isn't really so much of a review. I'm just going to go through the specs, talk about what we have here. There'll be a few reviewy type things mentioned. Perfect centering. This is running on a bearing system. super smooth. Proelia right there. Stonewash blade in this configuration. These come in different, a lot of different configurations, or a considerable amount. You can get a black coated blade. You can get I believe a black coated blade. You can get a black coated Stonewash blade. You can get a Satin blade, and then this Stonewash blade. And then there's blue and black G10, black G10, orange and black G10, and then there's also some green and black G10. Not all of the models feature all these configurations, but between the two of them, they have a combination of those. Really cool design. You've got kind of a fuller thing up here, got a hole right there. It doesn't really work as a spider hole too well, but you can actually open it if you put a lot of pressure right in that groove right there. You can open it without using the flipper, but primarily this is a flipper knife, as you can see. And flip it does. It really flips quite well. The action is really smooth. There's no play up or down. Lockup is rock solid. You can see right there. Steel liner, really thick. This thing is not going anywhere. Really nice. Goes in the pocket really well. It is beefy. I mean, it is a thick, heavy, kind of overbuilt, kind of throw anything at it kind of knife. That's what this is. If that's what you're into, I think you'll really like this. Blade shape is excellent, kind of all-purpose type thing. Not the best slicer necessarily, but this isn't really a kitchen knife. That's not what it's meant for. Hollow ground blade. You know, pretty thick behind the edge, but not anything ridiculous. It came razor sharp out of the box. No problems there. In fact, extremely sharp. One of the sharper knives that I've experienced recently in this knife right here. Ergonomics, I guess this is turning into a full-on kind of tabletop first impression review. Ergonomics are excellent. Absolutely excellent. No hot spots. Fills your hand really well. Part of that has to do with the thick nature of the handle there. Fills the hand super, super well. Now that has a downside in your pocket. It's going to take up a lot of space. It rides really well in your pocket. However, for me anyways, I like about this much sticking out. I'm not into the whole deep carry pocket clips. The only time I like the deep carry is if you have such an enormous knife that's necessary to actually fit in your pocket. Otherwise, I'm not really into the deep carry, but I know some guys are. So no deep carry here. You've got quite a bit hanging out of the top there. But it is manageable. I've carried this in a few different kinds of pants and not really had any issues. It does fill up the pocket quite a bit because of its size. And we'll do a comparison here to a paramilitary. You can kind of see the size comparison, quite a bit longer, definitely quite a bit thicker in the handle there. And obviously you get quite a bit more cutting edge as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, D2 steel blade on this. I like D2. I think it's a good all-around kind of steel. And I think it's a good steel to use when you're trying to keep costs down on a knife, but still want to have good performance in it compared to going to any of these other ones. Obviously 440C, 8CR13 MOV. I would take D2 hands down over any of those any day. Now obviously S30V is better, but also considerably more expensive. So you're going to see that in the price of the knife. So to me, this is kind of hitting on that price point for people that want that kind of tactical knife, overbuilt. It's going to give you good performance, great ergonomics, really strong. You're not going to have to deal with sticky lock. You're not going to have to deal with the lock wearing out. You've got a really thick steel liners there. Skeletonized, by the way. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. I don't know if you can see that. Along here, it does have pretty decent skeletonization, if that's a word. You can see right there the cutouts. Could be a little bit more. I could nitpick on this. I could say I would like to see these liners be a little thinner, actually. It would reduce weight. It would reduce some of the handle thickness. That would be nice. The balance is good, though. It's a little handle heavy, but not too bad. You can see just kind of towards the rear of this choil is where the balance point is. The thing that probably impressed me the most with this knife after seeing it online and getting it in hand is how well it's constructed. The fit of this knife is spot on. There is, I already mentioned that there's no lock play, there's no lock rock, anything like that, no side play, perfectly centered, perfectly smoothed, but also it's tuned perfectly well. There's no play in the detent. That's one of my pet peeves. I hate it when there's sloppiness in the detent. When it's closed, you can kind of feel it moving around, especially in a flipper. You go to flip it and it's got that squishiness to it. I do not like that. This one in particular, in terms of action, is top notch as far as being tuned. Detent's perfect, tension's perfect, fires like a rocket, super smooth. This one is right on point in terms of that. So overall, very solid knife. About the only thing, other than personal preferences, like I mentioned, being a little on the heavy side. Obviously, if you don't like liner locks, you're not going to necessarily gravitate towards this. Design is good. I like the design, especially the blade. It's very functional, very usable. Definitely not cutting edge design though. This is the kind of knife that we've seen around for a while. The overall handle, and I'm not saying it's a lifted design by any means. I'm just saying the overall style is a few years old. This is something that we saw very popular a number of years ago. Now you could argue that what that means is that the design is strong enough, functional enough, ergonomic enough that that's why it's kind of stood the test of time this long. Because you could look at this and say, the handle, it's nothing special, nothing going on there, kind of standard. But like I mentioned before, when you get it into your hands, it is the ergonomics just, they're excellent, right? So you can't really argue with that. Really, really good. Jimping. Let's talk about that real quick. Forgot to mention that. Extremely hard cut jimping right there. Really hard cut jimping. Gloves, bare hands. You are locked in on this jimping with your thumb if that's what you're into. More than I've seen in a long time. It seems like the jimping I've seen lately have been pretty decorational, not very functional. So the jimping on this is absolutely excellent. You can get a really strong purchase on this. Really, really cool. So yeah, overall, I actually am quite impressed with this knife. You also have a little bit of jimping here, not nearly as aggressive. Overall, very impressed with this knife. It's one of those things where I wouldn't have normally gravitated towards it because it wouldn't have had that kind of flair that said, hey, pick me up, you need to check me out. But I think that the market is not that for this knife. This isn't the knife guy looking for the next cool thing to check out. This is the guy looking for, or girl, looking for a very solid, large, heavy-duty, overbuilt, functional knife that's going to work for them. It's going to hold together. This thing is not going to break. You can see that stop pin. Very large stop pin right there, right in between two super thick stainless steel liners. A lot of this overbuilt talk, it looks at blade length, blade stock, stuff like that. But a lot of the time, some of these other pieces are neglected. The handle stability. You can see how many screws this has holding this together. And like I've said a million times in this talk here, these really thick liners, this all adds stability to the entire knife. You're not going to be getting flex on this thing if you're working hard with it. If you're cutting into some heavy duty stuff, if you're kind of beating on it, it's going to hold together. So anyway, so that's the market for this knife. It's not the most cutting edge design. It's not the hippest thing to come out on the market, but it is a workhorse. Quality, put together well. The fit is excellent. Super heavy duty. Let's get a weight on this before I go, which I meant to do earlier. It is heavy. And I'll post all of the actual specs down below. So 7 ounces about. So it is a nice solid knife. You can use it to bludgeon something if you're so inclined. I'll put all the specs down below. Any missing information I didn't put in here. But this is kind of my overall first look, impression, review. I've carried this around. I've used it on some smaller cutting tasks, and actually I think I used this one on some heavier cutting tasks over the last couple days. But overall, pretty good. You know, like I said, it's not necessarily something I would have picked out myself because I gravitate towards more, I don't know, more flashy type things that come out on the market. But getting it in hand, I'm actually very impressed with what they've produced here, and I think it's a good, solid, tactical, heavy-duty knife for somebody to use. So anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Take it easy. Later.